Good day. This is our Prelim Project and ITEW client-side scripting, and I am Jenna Rosica Pranca, and I will present you our project introduction. So, the instruction of our project is to create a simple web applications that will allow a user to enter a number in a text field and will generate the following output in a p tag. P tag is HTML elements that represent a paragraph. And the P tag with ID P output following lesson from week 3, which is all about HTML DOM basic. DOM stands for Document Object Model. So the DOM basic is count all digits, count all odd digits, count all even digits, most occurring digits. It will display all possible most occurring digits within the number. Then find a digit. Show prompt for asking the digit to find within the number in the text field. Each operation will be assigned with individual buttons for execution, including a clear button that will clear all the contents of the fields and p tag in order to allow the user to repeat the program execution. Provide a way to check if the user input is a number, since our program requirement is to work with numbers and not with strings. So now I will introduce you my group mates. So first is in web application, Mr. John Richard Pitogo will present the web application and how it will work. So next is the program. Our program is consists of three, which is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In HTML and CSS, Ms. Ayahel Umiktin will present HTML and CSS, and she will explain what inside in HTML and CSS. So next is JavaScript. JavaScript are functions about HTML DOM basic. Here are the presenters. So first is in count all digit. It will be presented by Mr. Mark Aaron Dinko. Next is count all odd and even digits that will be presented by Mr. John Christian Albay. Next one is most occurring digits that will be presented by Mr. Jelby Ryan Rosaria. And next is and find a digit that will be presented by Mr. John Alexander Nazareno. And last is the clear button or check input button that will be presented by Mr. Jeremy Custodio.
Okay, so good day everyone. My name is Teacher Pipitoga from 2ITC and I'm here to explain to you guys our web application. So as you can see here, this is the code or the program in our web application, and my task is to explain to you guys how our application works. So allow me to share with you guys our web application. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to enter a series of digits ranging from 1 to 12 to this text field. For example, okay, so now as you see in our web application, there are different buttons with different action that our user can choose. So first, let's try the count all digits button. These buttons will count how many you enter. Upon clicking it, the count of digits will be displayed in our p tag. So now let's click this count all digits. So the result is there are 6 digits because we entered 6 digits. Okay, so now let's try to count all even numbers. Upon clicking this button, our web application will display in ptag the count of even numbers in the series of numbers that we entered earlier. So next, let's click this count all even digits. So the result is there are 3 even digits. So that is 8, 8, and 6. So next, let's try the count all odd numbers. So upon clicking this button, our program will display in PTAG the count of all odd numbers in the numbers we entered earlier. So now, let's click these odd numbers. So there are 6 odd numbers, and that is the 7, 9, and 3. And now let's proceed to the most occurring digits button. After clicking this button, our program will find the number that is occurring repeatedly. Take a look at this. So for example, I click this most occurring digits. So the most occurring digits, so as you can see here, the result is the most occurring digits 8, frequency of occurrence 2 times because 8 is repeatedly 2 times. So now let's try finding the digits button. So upon clicking this button, okay, so now I will click the find the digit. The web application will prompt a message asking for a number you want to find. So let's try it. So for example, I want to look at number 7. So let's click the OK. As you can see here, the result is 7 is in the text field. So our program says that the number 7 we're looking for is in our text field. Okay, so for the last button, the clear button, this button will clear all the numbers in the text field and the result in the p tag so that users can enter another series of the numbers. So now let's try it. So let's click this clear button and all the digits, all the text field, all the result will clear. So thank you for listening. I'm Richard Pipitogo. God bless.
I'm Ayal Amitin. I'm going to present what's inside our HTML and CSS file in our UI. In our index.html file, we have a HTML tag, head tag, title tag, and a body tag. Inside our head, we create a link to connect CSS file to HTML file called stylesheet.css. We also have a title called Prelim Project. Inside our body, we have a container called black glow, and this is the code CSS code for the container, the animation, and the design. We also define an input type field that will hold the entered digit that the user will be inputted, and this is the design for that CSS design, the display, border, transition, and background. We also have a button ID on click that will hold the functions for our um, JavaScript or UI, and this is the design for that. We hover it. We also define its font size, font family, margin, padding, and we also have a p tag that will hold for the result of the functions, and this is the design for that. We define its display, font size, background color, margin right and height. And last, we also in HTML file we created a link for our JavaScript function, and that will be discussed by my other group mates. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Mark Aaron Elvinco. Will be discussing part of this program, the count all digits. Count all digits can count all digits that entered by the user. And if you can see in this user interface, we put 1 to 6 numbers in the text field and click the count button, and you can see the output is there are 6 digits. Okay, let's proceed to the JS or the JavaScript of this count all digits. If you can see in this function, we use the if and else statements. If for the invalid input digits and the else the valid input digits. Let's try. We put the letters A, B, C, D, E and click the button count all digits. you can see the output is please input numbers only. And try the decimal number 0.2, count all digits, please input integer characters only. And next, we use while loop. While loop have two statements, if and else. If for the one digit and else for the more than two digits. Okay, let's try. You can see the user interface. We put one digit and the output is there is one digit. Clear. And we put more than two digits and count all digits, and the output is there are six digits. Okay, thank you.
Good day. Um, Now I will explain how count all even digits and count all odd digits works. First, we put 12 digits first. So this is the even. So this is the odds. So if we clear, there's no now in the input area. So here in um, here in our HTML, the button ID of our even digits is btn even digits. Then on click count all even digits. Same as our button add digit is btn adds digits. Then on click equals to count all add digits. So in our JavaScript, this is the functions of all even digits input by the user. So let count all even digits, then if check input, so the check input is checking the numbers that users input to the text field. So check input is equals to false, return. So check input for checking the input numbers. Else let text num. So text num is the ID of the text field for the user input. So document that get element by ID text num again. So the ID of our text field that value. So let even is equals to 0. So while text num even plus equals to text num percent by 2 comparison to 3. So the module of um, even is by 2's. So text num is equals to math.floor text num divided by 10. So declaring the value of text num, which is the largest integer of text num, is divided by 10. So if even is equals to 0, p output that inner text uh, print that there is no even digit. So we will try that. There is no there is no even digit because this is adds. So else if even is equals to 1, p output that inner text there is the even numbers then even digit. So we will try. So clear because there is one even digit. But if more than one is input, there are four even digit. So next is counting all add digits input by the user. So let count all add digits same as the functions of even. The difference is this is by 3. counting to three. So three. Um, there's always a um, one. So assigning the value for add by concatenates. So text num is mat floor that mat dot floor text num um, is divided by 10. So declaring the largest value of the text like in add. Um, but here um, in even in add that is 1, 3, 5. So it's not um, divide divided by 2. It's not, yes, you can't divide by 2 or times. If same and even, if add is equals to 0, there will be no display add digit. But if add is equals to 1, there is add that will print. So we will try. Clear? You see in add 2, 4, 6, 8. There's no add. But if you put these numbers, there is 4 add digit.
So good day, I'm Jelviran Rosaria and I'm going to discuss the function most occurring digits. So the most occurring digit function will be the one who is responsible for getting the most occurring digits in the inputted text fields of the user. So I let most occurring digit as an arrow function, and inside of it is the statement which the check input that we'll discuss later on. And getting the value of the xtnum is declaring here. Then let store count is equal to like this for storing the counts of the occurrence, and let max count is equal to 0 for value of occurrence, and most frequent for getting the most frequent number. So a for loop that will increment the value of I greater than the length of that xtnum, and declaration of let element or L is equal to the value of the xtnum inside of it is the I, and if else to check the store counts if it has a value. So in first it has no value, so the store counts will be equal to 1. Then else element inside of store count will be increment plus plus. If else again, if the inside of the store counts is greater than the max count, so comparison, then assigning the max count is equal to store counts as well as the most frequent for the value of the external. And else if to comparison of the store counts if it is equal to max count. If not, then the most frequent will concatenates the value of the txt num and an I with a string which is the comma. Then lastly is the if else, another if else with checking the value is no occurring digit that will max count will be equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, then the display will be there's no occurring digit. Else will be the most occurring digit plus the most frequent number that will input the user and its frequency of occurrence, which is the max count.
So good day, I'm John Alexander Nazareno from 2ITC and I will explain the finding a digit. So let's try a digit which is 1 to 6 digit. So we click this find a digit. So the alert will say enter a digit you want to find, and this is the alert that will pop up. And let's try number 5 and it will display 5 is in the text field. So let's try again the number 7. So the display is 7 doesn't exist. So let's go on the JS or the JavaScript for function to find the digit input by the user. So we use if else, if for the for the invalid outputs or the invalid numbers, and for else is for the valid inputs. So if we click just find a digit, the alert will say enter enter a digit you want to find. So this will be the pop-up text field that accepts the number you want to find. For example, is 5. So the display will say 5 is in the text field. For the for loop, the input digit and the text number are compared. If the input digit are present to the text field, it will display that it is in the text field. Else if it will display doesn't exist. So let's try the number 7. So it will display the 7 doesn't exist. So this is the display if the value is not present in the text field. Thank you.
In the clear input function with condition, open and close parenthesis p output, it will do is, if you call clear inputted, it will take p output, then getting the txt_num that value is equal to null, that is, it takes the value of txt_num and sets it to the null value. After that, it will get the p output using document that get element by id, open and close parenthesis, p output dot inner text equal double quotation mark semicolon. The function of that code is to clear the p output field or the display message. In the check input function, the first thing to do is create an variable which is txt_num. After that, we will take the value of txt_num using document.getElementById, open and close parenthesis, double quotation mark, txt_num.value. After the execution of that, the value of txt_num, which is the user input, it will store in another variable, which is the txt_num. After that, it will be directed to another line of code that executes the if-else condition. If the txt variable is not a number, then when true it will display please input number only using inner text. Then return false when it is false in the if condition, then proceed to else if condition. When it is true, it will display please input desired number, the return is false. And if not true in the condition of else if, proceed again with else if txt_num modulus by 1 is not equal to 0. It will check for the user input if it is decimal or not. After displaying, please input integer characters, only the return false. If nothing is true in the conditions, then it will go to else condition, then it return is true.